Hello. So today we discuss blockchain architecture. We will learn in this lecture about the basic terminology of blockchain and its architecture, how it works. Basically, we all are familiar with Bitcoin. Bitcoin basically is a cryptocurrency and it is developed on blockchain. So we can say that Bitcoin is an application of blockchain. Blockchain is an emerging trend in computer science. So let us dive deep in blockchain and see what it is and how we can use it, or how we can start our career in blockchain. So blockchain basically is a distributed and immutable ledger. In general life, we all are familiar with ledger. Ledger basically is a register where we record our day-to-day transactions. So in blockchain, we record similar transactions. So it's like ledger, but it is immutable. Immutable means it's unchangeable. We cannot change it. And it is distributed. It means it is not stored at a centralized location. It is distributed on different nodes. So it is distributed physically. It means it is stored in physically distributed locations, and it has distributed ownership. Everyone owns the blockchain. Everyone owns it, but no one can control it. So how it works? It works on peer-to-peer network, and it is not centralized. There is no server involved. So all nodes work together. It's called peer-to-peer network, and all computers, all nodes hold the copy of the ledger, copy of the transaction. Okay. So as it is the P2P network, P2P networks, so it doesn't require any middle machine or middleman to make or to bring the consensus. So they all deal with each other and use the consensus mechanism to agree upon the addition or the deletion of the blocks. Okay, so each block contains a certain number of transactions that were validated by a network in a given time span. Okay, so it when any transaction occurs, new transaction occurs, all nodes create a consensus to add that block or add that transaction in the chain, and if that is validated, its copy will be distributed to all the nodes available on the network. So blockchain terminologies. So blockchain has the basic unit as node. As we are familiar with, node is the end computer, end user's computer, or the any computer available in the chain. Okay, so transaction are the any insertions, deletions of sort of things which are done by the users or the nodes. That's called the transfer or receiving of anything is called the transaction. Okay, so block is, we can say, the collection of transactions, and blocks form a chain. Different blocks are formed together to form a chain. And the miners are the computers or the nodes which are dedicated to create a consensus or to validate the transactions. Okay, so consensus mechanism, as we know that blockchain doesn't involve any centralized location or centralized node or server. So all the peers have to work together to make the consensus, and consensus is we can say necessary to, we can say that consensus is very much necessary in the blockchain to validate the transactions or the blocks which are added. So it is create sort of trust among the peers. Okay, so what are the basic characteristics of blockchain? Blockchain is immutable, as we discussed earlier. It is the permanent storage. No one can tamper with the records. Once the transaction is added In the blockchain, it will remain for lifetime, forever. No one can either change or delete that transaction. Okay, so it is decentralized. Every peer, every node contains the copy of the chain, and if anyone removes or one node get corrupted, so if other nodes are not in consensus with that node, so we can say that that cannot affect our chain. So our chain will remain authenticated as it is before. Okay, so it uses the consensus mechanisms to make it uses the consensus mechanism to validate the transactions, or to make it a trustable one. Okay, so it is transparent. No one can use it in their own favor. It is the transparent. Everyone can see the transaction history or the transactions made up to the date. Okay, so components. So blockchain basically use cryptographic hash function. Hashes are the addresses of the blocks. So we will discuss in the next video about in detail about the hash functions. So transaction, as we discussed, the receiving or sending data is the transactions. So blockchain uses asymmetric key cryptography. We call it as the public key cryptography, in which we generate one private key and other one is public key to send the transactions. As we know, it is secure. It is distributed, but it is secure. Blockchain is secure only due to the cryptography, and what cryptography type it is using is the asymmetric key cryptography or public key cryptography. So it is a ledger. It records the transaction. It is complete register. Blocks, as we discussed, the collection of the transactions, and blocks form the chain. Okay, so chain of blocks. So here is the basic architecture, how the chain looks. So here you can see that here is the this is one block, block 2, block 3. Okay, so here is the hash of the previous block. This block, the hash address is here. Time spent, nonce, and hash of block data and the transactions. Similarly, this block has the hash of this one block 1. Block 2 has the hash of block 1. Similarly, block 3 will be as the hash of block 2. So hash is the reference to the previous, we can say, the block. So they all blocks come together and form a chain which is immutable. Okay, so consensus model. So blockchain uses two types of consensus mechanism, we can say, or the algorithms used. We can call them that proof of work model and proof of stake model. So these are the two types of consensus mechanism used in blockchain. So proof of work and proof of stake. So we will discuss them in the next video. As we already defined, the scope of our this lecture is it's the basic introduction about the blockchain. Then we have our okay. So if someone wants to start a career in the blockchain, so they can start. There are different frameworks available. So they are open source as well. So the most used is the Hyperledger Fabric, is a framework for creating blockchain applications. We can use multi-chain, Ares Industries, R3 Coda, Open Blockchain. These are the few frameworks which we can use to start as a career in the blockchain. And this was all about the introduction about blockchain. If you have any query or any question, you can ask me in comments. Thank you, and